Hello everyone, nice to see you at a new video tutorial on image editing in Luminar 3. We will turn a picture from boring to a really eye-catching photo and we show the whole workflow. Today it is about a black and white adjustment layer with which you can control brightness and contrasts in your images. Maybe some of you already missed the high pass filter in Luminar 3, we know it from Photoshop. I have always worked a lot with it in order to increase structures and the three-dimensionality of the pictures. Surely, Luminar 3 offers several other filters, for example the filter structure or microstructure and also the filter clarity. But these filters work only on the smaller structures in the image. I'm actually looking for something that allows me to enhance the larger structures in the image. That's what we do today, with a black and white adjustment layer which we run over the image with a certain filling method. So, here we go.
I have opened the picture which we want to work on in Luminar today. You can see from my film strip that I was at this location for a very long time and that I shot various light situations that evening. I decided for a picture which I think is beautiful from the whole sky and light situation as well as from the water situation. Of course, the water is very important for this picture. You see that it was a long time exposure. Unfortunately, you can see here quite clearly that I have very much dirt on the sensor. If we take a look at the info window, we can see this was done with the D3X. It has a big disadvantage. It has no sensor cleaning. You can only clean it with suitable means. This picture was taken at the end of a long photo trip through Spain. If you change the lenses in the most impossible places, you always have a lot of sensor dirt with this camera. But we will also eliminate that in this tutorial. I'll turn off the film strip on this side so you can see the picture bigger. I deleted the workspace, we want to work on everything ourselves. So let's just get started. As always, I start with the three filters: Accent AI, AI Sky Enhancer and Raw Develop. I'll start right away with the Raw Develop. In Luminar 3 the lens distortion is always checked. I think that's quite good, because I always use it anyway. An important thing I want to show here on this video too is the chromatic aberration. I zoom into a picture area exactly this stone edge here, and you see it still has a red ham. That's chromatic aberration. If I click on it now, then this red ham at this stone edge is gone. I turn it off again. Red ham. When I click that again, this red ham is gone. For pictures with strong light-dark contrasts, the red ham line is gone. The edge areas particularly strongly. Next, I go out to the profiles of Luminar Standard and go here to Camera Landscape. If I switch to the Camera Landscape, the contrasts are increased immediately. The color also increases a little bit. Now you can see more clearly at what time of day this picture was actually taken. To be clear, it was after sunset. The sun has already disappeared on the horizon, but the clouds still get this very nice warm sunlight. But you can also see that the blue hour is slowly approaching. These contrasts in the sky I like a lot. Moreover, I like of course here this water drawing by the long-term exposure, this water that flows over the stones. And of course I like this reflection of the warm sunlight in the water, which is reflected by the clouds. I would give the temperature a bit more warmth, so maybe 5000 or 6000 Kelvin, so I can catch a bit more golden hour. Alright, now I continue with the Accent AI filter. You see that when I open it, the Raw Develop closes directly. I'll do a lot with it, because it gives me a bit of structure in the picture. You see that it happens what I do with the gradient filter. This accent filter strengthens the eye-catcher effect in the picture by relativizing my local loss, by making the foreground a little brighter and the sky a little darker. By the way, the picture is also photographed with a gradient filter. That's why I have such a strong cloud drawing and it gets a little darker towards the top. I'll have it set at about 50. I think we don't need it much stronger. Now the AI sky enhancer is added, so I can model the sky much stronger. I adjust it up to about 80. Now I have a very nice sky structure. I got a bit more contrasts here in front, all brightened up just by my accent AI filter and the AI sky enhancer. Now I still work the rest with my raw develop out. The temperature I have already adjusted. I increase the tint too. I leave it at 5. Then I get a little stronger red tints, which also strengthens the sunset mood. Then I set the highlights down, which structures my sky even more strongly and takes my water back down here. I'll leave the whites like this in any case. The blacks I still drive a little bit down so that the contrast does not suffer too much. But then I still go up clarity, not too strongly, because you see, then my water is structured very strongly here and I don't want that at all. I want to keep it dreamy. That's why I'm going to increase my clarity to about 30. I set the shadows to 15. So I get a very nice structure in the picture and still have all possibilities open. Next, I want to spot my picture now. Now you might ask yourself, why didn't I do this first? If I want to continue my work on the spotted layers first, I don't have any raw develop available anymore. Then I can only develop like with a JPEG. I don't want that because the raw development works a bit different, not so destructive, and I also have more possibilities. I just do it with the erase tool because it works well. For the case it's not working on any parts, I would recommend to work with cloning and stamping. I zoom into the picture. I set the size of the tool larger, about 40. Now with my eraser tool, I can start to remove the things that can be recognized as dirt spots on my sensor. Here in the water I also have to remove stuff with my eraser. But as I said, you'll see soon, with this eraser tool it's very easy and very quickly. Well, I guess I've got it all now. I'm looking here again. It all looks really good. I'm making the picture a bit smaller again. And now I click on the eraser button and you see it's all wonderfully removed and my picture is totally clean. I click on finished and go out of this mode. Now you can see I have a new layer on which my spotting work was done. I want to continue working on the new layer now. To make my water a bit softer, I would like to apply the Orton effect, which I find here at the creative filters. There it is. I turn off the filter catalog again. I want to apply type 1. I adjust the amount with about 30. And you can see how nice the water becomes soft. I adjust the softness at about 25. The brightness can also be a little brighter. I adjust the brightness at about 20. The contrast especially affects the stones. You see that. I'll set it about 20. I raise the saturation to 5. I will show you that once. Before and after. You see that I get a very nice light image, especially in the water. But whatever you see, the beautiful sky color suffers a little bit from it. Otherwise, different than the reflection in the water, it becomes even stronger. But the sky is getting weaker. Also, with the Orton effect, the stones are not that beautiful anymore. I prefer it without the effect. That means I apply this Orton effect only to the water. I do that with my mask and with my brush tools. I work relatively big and leave the opacity at 100. Now I just start to paint the whole thing into it. I can enlarge this a little bit, at least to be able to work in this area faster. Now you can see what is happening. This Orton effect is applied to the water. You don't need to be insanely careful because these are rough structures in this picture. I can check my mask again. That's okay like that, I guess. I quit the masking mode and want to look at the whole thing before and after. You see, on the water, this Orton effect works very nice, so I can leave it like that. The stones are no longer affected by it. Now I would like to fade more saturation and dynamic in, which I find right at the top in my filter essential. I don't increase the saturation too much because it can make it look very cheesy. I set the saturation at 10 and the dynamic can be a bit stronger. That refers to the midtones. I set them at 20. Let's have a very short look. Before, after. I'd like to check that in between. You can see that a lot has already happened in the picture. It has very good eye-catcher effect increased and looks already very great. But we have not reached the end yet. Alright, let's do the vignetting I mentioned earlier. You can also find it in the filter catalog in the essential. I like to work with the vignette because I want to have the viewer more focused on the picture. I apply the vignette very calmly. I will set it to around -50 or -55. I remove the soft edge so that you see better how the vignette behaves. So it becomes rounder and so it becomes more and more angular. I will leave it in an oval mode at -10. Now of course I adjust the soft edge very strongly so that the vignette is not visible to the viewer. Now the picture becomes much darker at the edges. I would like to place the center. Then you see it starts to glow more here and above everything is more dark. Now only the inner brightness is missing, so that the middle shines a little bit more. The inner brightness I set on 25. Make sure to always keep an eye on your histogram. Here you can see that the histogram runs out at the top. I can still change everything afterwards. That's the beauty of Luminar. Alright, next I'd like to apply the adjustable gradient filter, which I'll find in the tools section. With the adjustable gradient, I can adjust the top and bottom color and exposure differently. Of course, I have to adjust the alignment. That's what I do first here below. This should be here in the middle of the picture and then be relatively soft. I use it diagonally so that my stones are not affected too much by the upper gradient. So I start on the top. I'd like to lower the exposure a little bit. My gradient filter has already given me a nice cloud structure, but I would like it to be a bit darker. I'd like to increase the contrast as well. I increase it to 15. I will not touch the vibrance, but the warmth I drive a bit more into the blue range -20, so that the picture doesn't get too red. But you see, the clouds are nice red remained. Now the blue sky appears more stronger. These are my main eye catchers in the picture. These contrasts in the sky and this nice soft water. Now we come to the lower area. I also lower the exposure a bit, but not too much. I leave it at -10. I increase the contrasts, even if I have already softened the water, but I want to increase the light-dark contrasts anyway. Down here, I now fade the color temperature a bit more into the warm, at about 20. Yes, so I like that very much. Okay, let's have a look. Before and after. And you see how the picture develops more and more to a real eye catcher. Now we come to the main topic of this video. I think it's always good if we develop the pictures together until then. That's the black and white layer, which I want to add as new adjustment layer now. There I can better deal with individual color areas, both in terms of contrasts and brightness in the image. On this adjustment layer, I apply the filter black and white conversion. But I'm not doing that in this black and white picture. I'm putting this layer on luminance. Then I have again my color picture, but also now I can deal with the different fields differently. I can adjust the brightness beautifully. I would like to have my yellow areas more luminous. I find red above all in the sky, but also that should shine beautifully. Now I can adjust everything very nicely here. Even if I increase the contrast here in my black and white layer, then you'll see the picture becomes clearly richer in contrast. I will leave that at 5. As you can see, here I can adjust the different colors in the image differently with the individual color controls. But that doesn't change the colors, but only the rough contrast in the picture, different from the structure filters. Both structure and microstructure work rather in small areas. So I would lose the softness in the water here again. If I work with the contrast controller here, the softness in the water is preserved as far as possible. Only the wave structure is raised here. But don't increase it too much, maybe something between 5 and 10. Just the same goes for lights and shadows. I can also very beautifully adjust them, as said, without it affecting my colors, but really only on the brightness. I can adjust the color ranges up here, but even that only affects the brightness of the respective color. I can adjust the clarity a little bit, but not too much. Details would be counterproductive here. Of course, I could reduce it a bit, but then you see the stones look worse. I really don't want that, so I leave it at 0. In this picture, my luminance settings of the colors refers mainly to blue and red. If I had now a forest picture, I could still regulate the colors differently with the yellow regulator and with the green regulator. Now I only play around with this black and white filter on and off. You can see how the structure in the picture only through the black and white conversion in my color picture clearly increased. I can also turn on and off this whole adjustment layer. This has enriched the picture with contrast, which creates more depth in the picture. Alright, let's take a look at the before and after picture. Of course, the picture has clearly increased in eye-catcher qualities and just the details. The stone structure is sharply worked out. I like that very much. The only thing that bothers me, and I don't want to ignore that in the end, there's this little stone down here that still sticks out. I apparently didn't really see that when I took the picture. So let me go to my cutting tool. I have to click on the lock so I can adjust it freely. I just take a little bit away from the picture below, but not too much so it's not cut off so insanely. Now the picture is a bit more panoramic. Maybe you just saw it, the picture is also quite nice in the 3rd division. Now my picture is really finished. I hope you liked this video, then give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel as well. You will see more and more videos for Luminar 3 here. If you want to try Luminar 3, you can find the link in the video description. You also get a discount with our voucher code, which is also in the video description. So thanks a lot for watching this video, and yeah, I see you on the next video. Goodbye.